What's up? It's really late. It's the middle of the night, and I couldn't sleep because I kept thinking about why the heck I'm doing this. But then it occurred to me that just about 9 years ago, I was sitting in an office building in New York City, and it seemed like I had it all. I had a really good job working in finance, I was making a really good living, and yet I was miserable. And I didn't know it at the time, but pretty soon thereafter, my life was going to change pretty dramatically.
My name is Nolan Matthews. I'm a photographer, director, and pilot based in Utah. After nearly a decade in the corporate world, I walked away to build a life around travel, adventure, and storytelling. This channel is all about the work, the process, and the stories behind it all.
So yes, my name is Nolan Matthews, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker based in Utah. I also happen to be a pilot, a traveler, and an all-around adventurer. And when I was sitting at that desk in New York about 9 years ago, I would have never imagined I'd be sitting here. The reason that I am sitting here is because I was able to course correct and chase down my passions and turn them into my livelihood. And I want to take some time to try and inspire others to do the same. I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, and for the majority of the early part of my life, I followed the straight and narrow path. After high school, I ended up attending Johns Hopkins University, and I went there with the intention of becoming a doctor. However, halfway through my freshman year, I took a course called Introduction to Entrepreneurship, and it totally changed my worldview. Being able to start a company from scratch out of something that you just thought of that could solve a problem or something you were passionate about was so foreign to me, and yet it was probably the most exciting thing that I had ever come across. However, in my senior year, I got the opportunity to help create a real startup. And it was some of the most fun I had had up until that point at college. The problem was that voice in my head that said that I had to play it safe and be responsible and do the right thing kind of took over. And I ended up not pursuing that startup full time and ended up taking a job in finance in New York. I just knew deep down it wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So ultimately, two things happened towards the end of my career. One was a phone call with one of my Hopkins professors. I called him and said, I think I want to get out of finance and I think I want to try to buy a company. And can you help me to do that? And he basically told me, Nolan, stop pretending, get out of finance. If you want to do small business, you got to just go do it. That was some humbling advice, but I took it to heart. A couple weeks after that call, I was sitting at my desk and I was looking at financial statements, and half of my face went numb and part of my arm. So I walked myself to the emergency room after the advice of my wife, and the team there thought I was having a stroke. Well, to make a long story short, it wasn't a stroke. It was actually a seizure that brought on stroke-like symptoms. And the neurologist I met with said it was probably brought on by stress and lack of sleep. Yeah, the world had just sent me a sign that it was time to go. So it's kind of exactly what I did. My wife and I ended up selling most of our belongings. We said goodbye to New York. I said goodbye to finance, and we packed our bags and booked a one-way ticket to Iceland. And that was the first stop on what would become a year-long journey traveling the world. It was truly an incredible feeling, and again, it's where all of this took root. After traveling for a full year, we ended up back in our hometown of Baltimore, Maryland. I started working with a family business in the residential construction world, helping to run operations. But in addition to that, I started taking pictures for our company, I guess you could say professionally. Before I knew it, word had spread and I started getting asked to take pictures for some of our partner companies. And before I knew it, I had a little photography side hustle going. And then COVID hit and everything changed. So I ended up turning this side hustle into a much more serious pursuit. I launched my website, and much to my surprise, I got a few opportunities to do real commercial work. In fact, my first ever real commercial shoot was out here in Utah shooting skiing, and I couldn't believe a world existed in which I could take pictures of something that I was probably going to do anyway and get compensated for it. And from that point on, I have been relentlessly pursuing a career as a creative professional. I've had some of the most insane moments of my life doing this. And there's been some pretty significant wins. I've gotten to work with some of the biggest brands in the world. I've been published. I've won an award at a film festival. Wild stuff that I would have never imagined when I was sitting at that desk in New York 9 years ago. And while there's been some wins, I can assure you that there's far more failures along the way. I have learned firsthand during this time pursuing this career that starting something from scratch with your bare hands and pursuing something that you're super passionate about and trying to turn it into your livelihood is the most exhilarating, exciting, and fulfilling thing that you will ever do. But it's also, in reality, probably the hardest thing you will ever do, because there's no room for error. There's no company to back you up. There's no other people. It's just you, and you have to go at it and pursue it. And if you don't succeed, you fail. It's a binary. That kind of brings me back to why I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. in my studio talking to a camera. Listen, I'm far from the most successful, published, awarded creative professional out there, and I'm still learning every single day. But the thing is that during the course of my career, I have leaned on platforms such as YouTube to help me in my journey to pick up tips and tricks, and I still do to this day. I feel forever grateful for the community, for people lending their voice to help others. So this is my way of giving back. I feel that if I can just inspire one person out there who maybe was like me, sitting at that desk and was just wondering if there was more out there. If I can inspire one person to just look into that and go check it out, then this will all have been worth it. So I really appreciate you sticking around for this video. If this is at all inspiring to you, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel, stay tuned, and hopefully we can grow this thing together. Thanks so much.